Udah ada.
Udah.
Halo. Nggak dengar tapi Bu ya suara saya. Oh, udah masuk. Oke. Oke.
Sabar, butuh waktu.
Terdengar ya, ada tuh suaranya.
Cek.
Oke.
Oke.
Okay. Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, on behalf of the Postgraduate School Universitas Airlangga, I would like to thank to Veronica for your willingness to come here and will be sharing your experience as a student at Maastricht University. And thank you for those, for all of you who has making time right here with us in the middle of rainy Surabaya, and for those of you who join through online Zoom. So before we start, I think it's almost 1 month after the summer school, right?
Yes.
Yes. And how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. I would like to thank you and the university for inviting me. And I would like to thank all the master students that are taking the time, especially right now with final exams coming up. So I wish you the very best of luck with these exams. And yes, I'm good. I've been continuing my traveling after the summer school here in Indonesia. I loved it. Unfortunately, it's coming to an end. And
yes, I'm glad to hear that. And
yes.
Welcome to Surabaya.
Thank you very much.
So before we start, I would like to invite Dr. Radian Salman, head of the Science, Law, and Development of Universitas Airlangga. Dr. Radian, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear you.
I'm sorry not to turn on my video for my safety. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Veronica.
Yes.
I'm happy to see you at postgraduate school after having summer school in Bali. So, as a study coordinator of study program Master of Law and Development, I would like to say thank you for your kindness, for your time to visit postgraduate school at Airlangga University. I believe that the topic is in general about study in Europe, and it is not only benefit for my student in Master of Law and Development, but also for all students of postgraduate school. So once again, thank you. And also thank you for Safira, Enrico, and other colleagues in postgraduate school. Thank you, Fira.
Thank you, Dr. Radian. So now let's start the forum student talk, sharing experience study master abroad with Veronica Parwolo. So I have several questions for you. The first one is, what is the big reason you continue your degree into master level?
What is the big reason?
Yeah.
So I would like to quickly explain my education. Well, I graduated from high school. I was in Bologna, Italy, where I come from. And I found this very interesting bachelor called European Law, which is essentially very focused on European law and on comparative law of 4 different legal systems. So we studied the legal system of France, Germany, Netherlands, and UK. It was based in Maastricht. It was at Maastricht University. I did my 3 years bachelor there. And after that, I decided to continue to study because I wanted to actually focus on one specific legal system, and I chose mine, which was Italian law. So I went back to Bologna and I did the whole career there in law. Italian law.
Nice. So you took the general studies first, and then you back into the Italian law.
Somehow, I mean, it's not how it's taught. Let's say I decided to do this bachelor, which was more on a comparative level. So of course, you study everything at a comparative level, so you don't go deeply into one single legal system because you want to see the similarities and differences of the legal systems. So after that, I wanted to, somehow to go deeply into one, and for that I chose Italian law. That's the
Okay.
reason why.
And I think nowadays study abroad is very popular. And so, but let me ask you, why study abroad?
It's an amazing experience. There are thousands of reasons why I would recommend to study somewhere else. And they are both on an academic. There could be academic reasons. For example, for me, I couldn't study European law in Bologna or in Italy because it didn't exist, this kind of specific program. So that was the main reason why I left. But then when I got there, I actually found out that there were many more reasons. First of all, you get to live by yourself, which is a very interesting experience to do. Second of all, you are in a different country and you get new inputs and you get to learn a new language, a new culture, new people. That's a really enriching opportunity. And I think that doing it at your, in the years of university is particularly special. Or at least it was like that for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a specific correlation with your dreams to what you become to be.
What I would like to become. Surely, one thing that I loved of studying at Maastricht University was that I studied European law with so many people from different parts of the world and specifically of Europe. So I really enjoyed that part. And it opened to so many possibilities because you talk to people with different walks of life and different backgrounds, and you get to know many different possibilities for yours, also your professional experience. So I for sure would like to do something at an international level. I would like to do something that has a social impact. And these are all things that I kind of gotten to realize while studying abroad. Definitely. Yes, of course. I'm talking as an Italian student, as an Italian citizen that went to the Netherlands, and it was easy for me to go and move there. If you want to move around the European Union and you want to study in another member state, that's very easy to do. Of course, I'm talking like from this perspective. I know that it's not that easy in many other circumstances, of course, and that has to be acknowledged. Yes.
Okay, and the next one is, it's not common in Indonesia. We have to write essay before we, as a requirement to go to the university. But as far as I know, essay is a basic requirement in abroad universities. Could you give tips how to write a good essay?
A good essay for an entrance test, you mean? Well, my experience is different because, for example, in order to access to European law, to the Bachelor of European Law at Maastricht University, you had to apply. And there is no entrance. There was, at least when I applied, there was no entrance test. The requirements were that you would collect a minimum of ECTS, the credits, connected to the exams, which was like 40 ECTS out of 60. Otherwise, you couldn't continue. But so I never had to write an essay to enter an exam. I wrote many papers, sure. And for that, another very good thing of Maastricht University, and maybe, I don't know, we can talk of, maybe you can implement this here, is that there are courses specifically called skills, where you learn how to write a paper. So it's not about the content, it's about the form. It's about how to write it. And that was very, very useful. There are books about it. So maybe that's something that could be implemented here also.
Yes. And how about the value at Bologna before you continue?
Then I moved back to Bologna. There's no entrance test there either, because it's still open numbers. So in Italy,
Mhm.
there are some faculties where you have an entrance exam and some others which are still open. And then while taking exams, maybe some people drop out, some people
Mhm.
continue. So I didn't have to take it there either. I just enrolled and continued my studies there. Yes.
How did you enter both Maastricht and Bologna? Do you take any scholarship or?
No. There are some grants that you can get if you are a Dutch citizen or a European citizen studying in the Netherlands or working in the Netherlands
Oh.
also. They give you subsidies. So that's something. And there are many places where you can ask for help. At Maastricht University, they can give you advice on how to apply to these subsidies. Sure. In Bologna, which is where I'm from, so it was easier for me. There are exemptions for tuition fees based on income.
Oh,
So that's also very good. And then the rest is proportionate. So you get the maximum and the
so
zero.
you can adjust it.
And yeah, like in relation to your income, the tuition fees adjust.
That's great. How was your preparation at that time for study abroad, and what is the important thing among all of them?
Well, I graduated from high school and I was very enthusiastic of moving abroad. At that time, actually, my sister, she was living in Brussels and she wanted to do a master at Maastricht University there too. So we lived together for the first year. So I would say that my preparation was my sister's help.
Okay.
to
So you learned
teach
from
me.
your sister.
I learned from her. Yes. But I would say that there are counselors, there are people you can ask to, for example, in terms of housing,
Mhm.
they provide for help. And the rest, I just had you learn by talking to people, no?
Yeah.
And so, but while making friends, we would exchange ideas and we would exchange, which Facebook group did you find your bike or, this kind of, or your furniture or this
Yep.
stuff like that. But it's something that you learn consciously and unconsciously. You just have to do it, so you do it. Yeah.
How do you think about, do we need to be hardworking, brave, or persistent being an active student?
What does it mean for me, or
As a person who's studying abroad,
yes? What's the question again?
do we have to hardworking, persistent, active student?
It's not something you have to do. It's something that you breathe in the air. So everyone left their home to go study abroad, and they're investing money, time. So you make the effort. You go to the library, you see everyone studying, everyone very what I loved about Maastricht is that I was surrounded of very driven people, proactive and with a lot of initiative, and they really were interested in what they were studying. They were really wanted to do it properly somehow. So it's something that you breathe it in the air and you do it. Even if it means studying, 12 hours per day in some exam periods, or because it means that, or being at the library all day long and, ordering a pizza in the library and not moving for the whole day. But you do it because everyone around you is so passionate and you are passionate about what you're studying. Well, that's, of course, the first requirement. You have to be passionate about what you're studying. Otherwise, there's you shouldn't do university or that specific faculty if you're not passionate about it.
Yes.
There are many other things, that's the first requirement. And then people around you are also very important. And of course, the professors give you if they give you good inputs and they make interesting lectures, then you're even more motivated to do it. Yes. And at Maastricht University, another thing that works is the kind of system that they're using. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the PBL system. So PBL, problem-based learning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, that's the approach that they're using. So it's not only like a conventional lecture where there's the professor talking and the 300 students listening, but there are also very small class of 15 people. And every week you think of some goals or of some questions in order to address the topic of the next week. And then for the next week you study, you answer to these questions, and then you discuss it in class. That's a very good way for learning, because you learn, because you talk about the subject, you read about it, you apply to cases, so you put it into a practical level, which is not, so it doesn't stay at a theoretical level and then you forget about it, but you put it into practice. And that's also, that can help you a lot for learning. You will get to the exam that you have a good knowledge of the topic. Then you have to study, of course, but you're not like, you really grasp the main concepts. Yes.
It's a build critical thinking also.
Also, because you discuss about the topics, and especially law, it's very interesting if it's also related to news, to breaking news, to the world, to what's happening around you. And if you can study and see that it has a real application in real life, that's the interesting part of law.
You are not just reading the theory and then close the book.
Yes,
Yes.
It has a real life aspect.
Great. So before I'll continue to the next question, is there any question?
Yes.
You would like to ask to Veronica, please?
I have a question.
Of course.
Veronica, thank you.
Mike. Biar kedengaran.
Problem, right? Okay. Okay. So,
Okay.
Vero, you said you study and you about European law. What's the topic of your thesis in specific?
Of course. Sure. Well, so the bachelor was about European law, and we studied a lot that, but the rest was comparative law. So it was like comparative tort law, comparative contract law, comparative property law, comparative criminal law. My thesis at Maastricht University was about comparative criminal procedure. So I wrote my thesis about pre-trial detention, and you usually have some legal grounds on which you can send someone to pre-trial detention. But nowadays, like, jails are full of people in pre-trial detention on a wrong legal basis. I mean, I wrote about the seriousness of the offense being used as a legal factor, as a legal ground for declaring someone to go to pre-trial detention. And that's not one of the legal grounds enlisted by the European, ECHR, by the European Convention on Human Rights. So this was my thesis on.
Comparative law.
It was criminal procedure on a.
And if you talk about comparative, I want to know how do you find valid data from another country? Because I think it's not easy to find valid data from another country. Maybe you have a tips from us that this is a student from London, and we can provide a thesis or description or dissertation with precise and clearly. So, how to find valid data from other country? Maybe you from the journal, from law, or etc.
Are you talking about? So you're asking me about the sources?
Yes.
So,
All right. So sources you can find in databases that are usually provided by universities. Articles, Google Scholar also can be good because you can find many papers there. And libraries, physical libraries, are also very good. At Maastricht University, they have a very big library where you can find several books of also like other legal systems translated, because usually, of course, the textbooks are in the language of the legal system. So, for example, Maastricht, since they envisioned this bachelor, they collected all the civil code, criminal code of the legal systems we are talking about, and they translated them. So we get this book called the Maastricht Collection, where you have all these, of course, not all of the civil code and not all of the criminal code, but the main parts translated and put together in this book, for example. What else could you find? Sure, yeah, I would say nowadays people not many people go to a physical library, because you can find many things online. But yes, there are huge databases. You can collect information, case study, and also for example, for European law, you have Curia, you have websites where you have all of the case studies, or the case law, and all the decisions. For the European Court of Human Rights also, you can find it on the internet, and you have the full decision of the judgment of the judge. Yeah. Of course. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any question again? No? Okay, I will continue with mine. So yeah, we live in very diverse city environment. How you can manage your style to adapt in new kind of environment as an Italian student in Netherlands? Even though you say that it's easier for the Italian to move to the Netherlands, but how you adapt?
So in terms of bureaucracy, it's really easy, thanks to the European Union and the free movement of people, which is one of the main principles. In terms of as a personal level, I would say that, I moved to the Netherlands, and I have met the Netherlands, of course, but I also have met the rest of the world. So that was also very interesting. We were based in Maastricht, but it was this international community living together. And of course, there are cultural barriers, cultural differences. Let's say, as an Italian person, I had to adapt to the weather, exactly. Which was very different. It was colder and more gray, but I also had to adapt to very cool things like, not having to wait for hours in line for
Looks like you
the
hate
municipality.
winter.
I do hate winter. I don't know how I survived there. But it's a process that if you think too much, it sounds difficult, but when you are there, you just do it. Also, because we are people with different cultures, and that's actually the most enriching part. So that was very interesting every day to interact with people from all over.
So just like a Nike symbol, just do it.
Just do it. Just do it.
Great.
Yes. Seems much more difficult than it is in reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what is the biggest challenge of it? And what do you do when you are down?
The biggest challenge, being far away from home is also something that when you are down, or where you have those moments where we would like some family, then of course you miss home, and it can be hard. But the beautiful part of living abroad is that you get to create your own family somehow. So even if you don't have your blood family there, you have a family by choice.
Yeah.
And you can talk to them. And for me, it was absolutely what I love the most to having created this Maastricht family. We're still friends, we're spread around, but we still try to see each other thanks to Ryanair, the low-cost airline in Europe that helps. But yeah, we managed to see each other and to continue this family bonding that was created. That was created at our university years.
Or maybe you could join a like a Italian student who's studying at Maastricht, so you can share the similarity.
Also,
It's like
for
okay,
sure.
you're homesick.
For sure.
Mhm.
For sure, there are the different communities. So I don't know about the Indonesian one, but for sure there must be some kind of community, and you have them of other different nationalities. So that can also help. Absolutely, yes.
So could you share your daily routine while you were in Maastricht as a student?
Yes. Well, I would have a couple of classes during the day. It could be either a lecture, so the conventional lecture, or the small tutorial was called. So the 15 people discussing about the topic. And then there would be some lunch break and some coffee somewhere, maybe at the park if it's good weather.
Yeah.
And then we would go to the library to study there. The library is very good. You get to have like different environments. You can have like the big room full of people, or you can have these very small rooms, super silent for people. Like it can provide for all the different necessities for someone. If you like to work where there is some noise, then it's okay. If you want to work, if you need a group room, there's a group room, for example, if you need to work in a group, or if you want like silence, complete silence, you have these rooms, or you have even single rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about living cost and money spending there?
Well, compared to where I'm from, it's a bit more expensive. Tuition fees are different for Europeans and non-Europeans. So for Europeans, the cost of every public university in the Netherlands, it's approximately 2,000 euros, which I would say is, I don't know how many, it's maybe 20 millions.
Okay.
Yeah. But at a European level, it's one of the cheapest. And then you have to, the rent is an expense. And in terms of living costs, it's different from here. Here you can, for example, eat at a Warung, and
Yes.
it's not that expensive.
Right.
Eating in restaurants in Netherlands, just avoid it, also because it's not good food. So it's better to go and buy at the supermarket. So that's what we would do. So we would live a lot in houses, for example. We would meet in houses, maybe cook dinner together. And yes.
Too fancy for student, eat at a restaurant.
Too fancy. Absolutely. I think I ate at a restaurant maybe twice in 3 years. Really.
So how you manage your
When you go to
financial-
Germany, it's cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Because it's
So
really
note
close
that.
to Germany
Oh.
and Belgium. Yes.
How long it takes?
So to get to the first city in Germany, it's 1 hour by bus, which is called Aachen. The Belgium, actually, there are people living in Belgium because it's 5 kilometers the border. So they would go by bike
Wow.
to Maastricht. Yeah.
So how you manage your financial?
Yeah, sure. No restaurants.
No answer. It's okay.
Avoid restaurants. Yes, and I worked there.
Oh.
Yes, I worked there. I worked for the university. I did some promotion in Italy for Maastricht University.
Oh.
Yes. And so that was a very interesting experience. It's student jobs are a real thing. So you can really get a student job there. It's very easy. You can do it in English, which is also very good because learning Dutch takes time.
Right.
And yes, and thanks to if you work there, they give you subsidies. Yes.
So do you like
and insurance.
open volunteer for students?
Yeah, there was a call for there are several jobs, especially like, of course, in terms of promotion, or when they do like in the countries, like abroad, or in Maastricht, for example, at open days, you can work as a promo, like in the promo team.
Okay, it's kind of serious question. Did you think studying abroad changed your life?
100%.
Wow.
100%.
Please explain.
It's made me meet people I love, new environments, new worlds, new inputs, interesting professors, very interesting students, of course. And it was a challenge for me, of course. I had to live by myself in another country. I wasn't very good at, taking care of the house also before getting there. So I had to learn all of it at the same time. And it made me grow a lot, definitely. Those
All
3
by
years
myself,
changed
like,
all by myself. Yes, and I made it, and I'm very proud of myself. And it was challenging. It was very challenging and very rewarding at the same time. Yes. But of course, as I said, as a European, it's much easier. But what I highly recommend is that if you can, for example, do an exchange period, that's also very good. That's also an experience. For example, my brother right now is in Erasmus in Germany, and I pushed him a lot to do that, because even if it's 6 months and it's not 3 years, it can literally change your life. He's there, his life has been changed because of the people he's been meeting, because of the experiences he's been doing, because of the getting out of the comfort zone.
We grow by the experience.
Yes. And if you stay in the same environment, of course, you get access to similar experiences.
Right.
If you go to a different environment, you access to many different experiences. So if you can do it, I highly recommend it.
That's the beautiful thing of studying abroad.
Yes.
Before I'll continue, is there any question from online Zoom? Enrico, maybe.
Yeah, thank you, Vera, and thank you, Vero, for your sharing about studying abroad. And I'm sorry I cannot attend this session physically because I'm not in Surabaya right now, and that's why I'm joining with Zoom. And to commemorate our summer school, I'm wearing the T-shirt right now.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, again, I'm sorry because I can't attend it physically. Well, to be frank, actually, most of my question is already asked by Vera and Giza, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe, I'm curious about your thesis again. Well, it's not gonna be a heavy question. It's just a light question. I'm curious, the difference with your thesis defense in the bachelor and in the master program, which one is more harder and which one you think you need to be prepared the most time?
For the bachelor, there was no defense. So I wrote the thesis and I submitted it I was actually traveling when I submitted it.
Okay.
It was July 2017, and that was it. After that, I received the grade, and there was the big ceremony with everyone with gowns and hats, and a few months later, so there wasn't a defense for my master. For my master thesis, I wrote the thesis. I think it took 4 or 5 months in total, because I have to do. So in Italy, it's different. It's not that you do 3 years of bachelor, graduate, and then you do the master. In Italy, it's 5 years in total.
Oh.
So there is no break in between. So there is only one thesis at the end, and that's very big. So it took 4 or 5 months to write it. It's I don't know if here do you work with ECTS? Yes.
ECTS?
Do you have EC credits? No.
Credit,
For exam.
Yeah, in my faculty to be exam, you need to fulfill a minimum credits, if I'm not mistaken.
It's great. Okay, because it's called the Bologna system. Or at least in Europe, you get for every exam is worth a total amount of credits.
Yeah.
So, the final thesis for law in Italy, it's very big. It took 4 or 5 months. And after that, I discussed it. And that was very nice, especially because, of course, you work on something you like, and you want to share it with your professor and other professors. And that was, I would say, a 50 minutes discussion with questions, 15, 20 minutes. Yes. Unfortunately, it was online because it was COVID period. Otherwise, it would have been in this beautiful room with the ancient fresco at Bologna University. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious because here in Indonesia, we also required to defend our bachelor thesis and also the master thesis, of course. So I'm curious about the difference in Europe, the practices on the thesis
practices.
defense. Yeah.
Yes, I would say that in my faculty, it's like in law, they ask questions. So it's not like a presentation, but many other friends, for example, they did a PowerPoint presentation and just going by themselves, and then maybe at the end questions. But otherwise, it was just like a presentation, without questions.
Yeah, in here at least in my experience during my bachelor defense, we required to present our thesis briefly, around 10 minutes, and then follow up with 45 to 60 minutes of Q&A. So it's a hard defense.
Yeah, it's a hard defense. It's way longer. Yes.
Yeah, because it's take around 5 panelists, and each panelist usually ask around 2 to 3 questions about our thesis. So yeah, the preparation is quite a lot for the defense. Again, about your thesis, is it about your supervisor? Okay, is it chosen by you or by the university, your thesis supervisor?
It's chosen by me. So I normally would think of a topic and to a supervisor, and then I would ask him if he would be willing to be my supervisor and to discuss about this topic. And then after that, there is usually a discussion because also they have some research topics that they would like to address. So you can maybe find a middle ground, for example. And and then you start collaborating. Yes.
Okay. Well, in Indonesia, it's usually decided by the faculty. So it's like hope for the best, you get the best supervisor for you.
Even the topic is decided by the faculty.
Well, not really. The topic is decided by us privately, but for the supervisor, it will be decided by faculty. The faculty will grade who is the best, the suitable one for your topics. So actually the defense, again, in the practices, our defense is divided in 2 parts. The first part is the preliminary defense, where we propose our topics, and then it will be graded by our faculty, and the faculty hence decided whether you can continue with that topic, and if you have the green light, who is the suitable one for to be your supervisor for that thesis. So yeah, it's different.
It's different.
How you describe your relation with your supervisor? Is it a good relation or a bad relation?
I had 2 very beautiful experiences, both at Maastricht University and in Bologna. At Bologna University, there was a good communication. There was presence, like replying to emails and meeting, like in visiting hours. Overall, I would say yes, both of them were very good experiences. I have to be honest, I have many friends who didn't have good experiences, where maybe the supervisor just disappeared or didn't correct, or where on the other hand, who he was way too precise or maybe demanding too much, or so it I think it's a matter of luck, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I see. I think it's also happened here in Indonesia because it's also proven by the life of Vera. I think her supervisor is not a good one.
No, I have a beautiful experience.
Okay.
But I think, Enrico, not all faculties apply that way, because in my faculty, he is from the Faculty of Law and I'm from the Social Political faculty. I have to write two names of supervisor, and then one of them will give a willing.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay. So you kind of
choose.
decide.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's
Mhm.
I see.
Yeah. Well, good to know about the practice on the faculty in social political faculty, because in the Faculty of Law, that's how we go for our thesis.
Mhm.
Maybe one last question for you, Vero.
Of course.
Do you have any tips on how to write a good thesis? Maybe how to handle the writing system, maybe, or to handle the burnout during the
Yeah.
writing process. Do you have any good tips on that?
Well, I would say that the research is the main focus. I mean, you really need to focus on the research, on doing good research, because after that, the thesis will write itself. So if you work a lot on the first part, then the rest will come more easily. The problem is that, I don't know how it is in here, but for example, in Bologna, I saw that for 5 years, you write no papers, nothing similar to a thesis, and then you have this huge 200 pages thesis to write. So that's really hard for people. Me, I had a different experience because I wrote many papers at Maastricht University. So that was different. I was already used to do research, to write, because also like one thing is studying about a subject, one thing is writing about it. So it's different. You need to work on your terminology, on the legal terminology, on how to be clear, etc. Those skill classes I was telling you about before really helped. And yes, well, doing a lot of research in knowing the sources, like where to look and what to look, how to read a paper, maybe also like by scanning and by knowing where to look, by reading a judgment, by reading, that takes time and it takes practice. So if you can start doing it before the final thesis, I think that will avoid the burnouts at the end. So it should be done with smaller papers throughout the academic experience. Yes.
So you must be prepared for your thesis. That's
yes.
what.
Not to get to the thesis where you have no idea how to write about it and how to write like. So I remember from these skills classes about that you have to elaborate a research topic, and then you write the outline, you write the specific cut you want to give to your research, because it's not only about the general topic, it's about what's the exact question. And then all the main bodies should be about answering this question. It should be, this reasoning that develops. And then you have the intro and the conclusion, which should be catchy and at the same time explanatory. So it's really, and then you have different kinds of theses. You have a more research thesis, more like experimental, and you have more a descriptory thesis. So like it's a skill that you have to acquire, and you have to study on that. Not on the content, because the content you will focus on when you're going to do it, but on how to write it. It's a very good question, because it's not self-evident. It's something that you need to work on to study on how to write a good thesis. Yes.
Yeah. Practice makes it better, right?
Yes. Practice it's a way for learning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all from me. Once again, thank you, Vero. And
Thank you.
before I would give it back to Vera, John sent his warmest regards for you. If you
Say hello to John from me.
okay, definitely. Back to you, Vira.
Thank you so much, Enrico. But additional question about thesis for me is, how, do we need to patient at that topic, or we can choose a easy path? I mean, easy how to get the data easily, or we have to patient about it.
Well, it depends on. I would say the main requirement is to be passionate about the topic, because if you have to, I don't know how long it takes you to write a thesis. How much time normally people take?
6 months.
6 months. So if you have to research about something for 6 months, you really have to be interested in that. And then, of course, there are topics that are much more where there is already a lot of research and a lot of academic papers and and there are some others where the data are lacking somehow and it's not developed yet. So it could be either of those. The important thing is to be passionate, otherwise it's going to be really hard. Yeah. Of course, the more you experiment, the better it is for. Yes.
So I received a question from Ms. Herman.
Of course. Hello.
Maybe I will ask a little bit of the topic for you, because I like your science.
Thank you.
I wonder what is your motto of life and your motto for study, and your study there before you finish your final exam. How is there is a term and condition for submit journal. Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, what's my motto?
Yeah, it's a
I would
hard
say
question.
now I had to translate it in English. There was this. I remember when I was in high school. I did classical studies when I was in high school. So I studied Latin and ancient Greek. And
It's very classy.
there was this sentence which was, why there's nothing better than the thing you. Well, the translation is a bit shaky because it was
Okay,
from Greek to Italian. So it would be like, there's nothing better than to do something you fell in love with. No?
Yeah.
So this is my motto.
I
This is
agree
my
with
motto
that.
for anything. Absolutely. And I'm sorry, the second question was?
Before you finish your final exam,
Yes.
or thesis, so you submit for
Journal.
or no?
I didn't submit it into a journal. No.
There is no
No.
term and condition at your school.
No, I know that there is for you here.
Yes.
No, there's absolutely not. There's absolutely not this condition in neither Netherlands nor Italy to do that. No. You just have to send it to your supervisor, and he's gonna read it. Yeah. Yeah. Good luck with that. Yes. I heard about it. Yeah. It's of course.
Thank you, Ms. Herman.
Maybe someone. Yeah.
Have you ever lost in Netherlands, or maybe you could share your unlucky moment or worst thing happened?
Unlucky moments.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe a funny moment while you were.
Wow. So
Maybe we can avoid that.
to avoid that,
Yeah.
it's for sure. Well, you have to be careful with landlords in general. You know, when you rent a house and you don't speak the language.
Yeah.
So you get this contract and you're
Yes,
like,
yes.
all right, with this like super long contract in Dutch. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to be written in this contract? Day one at law school, it's like never sign something that you don't know about, you know? And then the second day I was signing this contract in Dutch. That was funny. And yeah. Or, you know, agents, like agency fees. We had this little file with this agent. But that's something very funny for me also, because as a law student, you kind of practice to be a lawyer also in these situations.
Yeah.
No? So we had all these negotiation parts with the agent renting the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fun.
Okay.
There was a lot of fun, yeah.
So last question is, do you have any plan to take a doctoral degree?
I'm open to anything right now. So
Okay.
I graduated and I'm taking this gap period where I've been traveling a bit. And after that, I'm gonna go back to academic / professional life. So I would be open for that.
Maybe you want to continue at yeah, because we just opened the doctoral of science law and development here. Yeah,
That's a
maybe-
very
maybe-
interesting
yeah.
subject. That's a very interesting subject. Who knows?
Yeah, who
That's
knows?
it.
Okay,
That's it.
that's all. Any question?
What about your goal for the future?
Since we're at the
Big
point.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah. Big questions. So for sure, I would like to work in a social impact reality.
Mhm.
For example, I don't know, an international organization, maybe, maybe
Like a part of the UN.
maybe UN, yes,
Yes.
why not? Or for the European Union also, like maybe for some agencies there. Yes, I would do something. Or for social and economic development organizations. Yes, this is my goal.
Good luck on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I think that's all for today's session. I would like to say thank you so much, Veronica. It was a huge pleasure, and it is a pleasant day for us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And once again, I know that talking about studying abroad, for me, it's easy. I said that already 3 times. And I really hope and wish that it's going to be easier for Indonesians and for everyone to do this. But I think that that's the direction where we are going, where we're heading to, that exchange programs are more and more developed and visas are easier to get. So I really, really hope that that's going to be a reality very soon. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you
It
so
was my
much.
pleasure.
Please give me a applause again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all for joining us today. Hope you have a nice day for the rest of the day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you in Surabaya.
Please.
See you again, Carol. Sorry, I can't accompany you today.
Pak Nawawi.
Of course, Nana. Thank you for being online. Yes,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Let's take a photo session.
of course.
I will take the picture.
Di sebelah mana?
Di situ kan, di depan ada. Di situ, oh ya.
Yang ada apa?
Yang online difoto juga nggak nih? Kalau nggak, tak lock out loh ini.
Kayaknya Iko foto sendiri aja.
Oke, siap. Terima kasih guys, izin lock out ya.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.